Politics of Senator Cruz's stand in just a minute, but first, let's take it around the table. The Five's initial reaction to the senator's remarkable 21-hour feat. Greg, you want to kick it off?
Well, I think the huge achievement here is not going to the bathroom. Might be the biggest achievement. It's a victory for beta prostate. I believe Joe Theismann should be really proud, one of our advertisers. The thing that, can I just focus on the media? Yeah. This story illustrates the change in tone regarding these kinds of events. Cruz's talk-a-thon is seen as a silly stunt among many, but Texas State Senator Wendy Davis, who became a national media darling for filibustering against the ban on abortions after 5 months, she became the Susan B. Anthony of suction, the Joan of Arc of abortion. She is what the media thinks is brave, and she raised $1.2 million after that filibuster, and if she wins and becomes governor, she should thank the fetuses. Of course, they won't be able to hear her.
Can I throw something in very quick before I go to Dana? And a lot of people said, what was so great about it? Why does it have to be a 21-hour talk-a-thon? And I said, because it forced the liberal media. It forced MSNBC. It forced CNN to headline with it. It's forcing CBS, ABC, and NBC to talk about it. Had he done 5 or 6 hours, no one would have heard about it, but it forced them to do it.
Plus, he proved that he knows more about Obamacare than the people who voted to pass Obamacare. Right. They were just so tired of it, they just wanted it out the door. One of the things I really liked that he did was he talked about single moms and dads who are trying to raise families that are going to have premiums raised by so much, and he used anecdotal evidence, which I think is the most persuasive form of communication. But also say on the media side, the treatment of him could just make you completely empathetic for his position. It's really incredible. The Wendy Davis one is a good example, but you know that they are so disdainful of him. But I admired it. I couldn't believe when I woke up this morning he was still going. I mean, I had 6 hours of sleep.
They gave him equal time, though. They did give him equal time, but the time, it was about the tone of it that was different.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well,
right.
A couple of thoughts. One is, the old senators, when they used to have a lot of tobacco chewing, they had spittoons next to them. Now, they still keep them there for purposes of antiquity, and I assume that's what came into play for him. Let me put it this way. I'm going to compare him to Barack Obama. In this sense, Barack Obama stood up on the Senate floor and said, I'm opposed to the war in Iraq, and he was appealing to the base of the Democratic Party versus Hillary Clinton. I think what Cruz is doing here, this is his presidential politics. He's appealing to the base, saying, here's the guy that stood up and put 21 hours in. I, of course, didn't miss 1 second of it, but the point is, I think it may be smarter politics than it looks like.
In the long run?
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second, but Anne, initial thoughts.
Well, I, like Greg, am just baffled about how he didn't go to the bathroom. I'm wondering, we talked about this before we came on air. Was he wearing Depends? He could have been sponsored. How did he do that? I think it was a genius move to do what he did. One, the Senate is where the dinosaurs go. I mean, it is the most boring place. So to see passion coming out of the Senate, like we saw earlier in the year from Rand Paul when he filibustered on drones, I thought was pretty rare for Washington, D.C. Two, it's genius because he drove the news cycle. He drove it. Whether the media liked it or not, he forced Republicans to go on offense. He forced the media to talk about it. He got people's attention. That's why Harry Reid, the king of boring, hated watching people sitting around watching Ted Cruz, talking about Ted Cruz. And I do agree with Bob. The base needs a leader, and he has become the rising statesman, along with Rand Paul and Rubio and others.
We can get to that in a second. But what lies ahead for those interested in the fight to defund, delay, and dismantle Obamacare? Can we roll that shot of Harry Reid immediately after Ted Cruz stepped away, went off on his way, probably went to the bathroom? Listen to what Harry Reid had to say immediately.
For lack of a better way of describing this, it has been a big waste of time. The government is set to shut down in a matter of hours, just a few days. Government will close. And it's a shame we're standing here having wasted perhaps 2 days.
So, Bob, a man stands up for what he believes with passion, talks to the American people, probably enlightened a lot of American people that didn't know what Obamacare was all about, yet Harry Reid found it a colossal waste of time.
Well, look, Ted Cruz is a highly educated guy. He went to Harvard Law School. He knows what he's doing, I assume. And he's thinking this was not about necessarily passion about Obamacare, as much about passion for Ted Cruz. I've never seen a freshman senator get more attention over more issues than this guy has in a short period of time.
Since President Barack Obama was senator.
Yeah, no, that's why I was making the comparison. I mean, I think that
people are passionate about Obamacare.
I don't think he's as passionate for 24 hours, 21 hours. No.
I think he knows people are really ticked off about Obamacare, and that's what he tapped into.
And we're going to always disagree on that.
Where do we go from here?
That's the question. This is the thing about symbolic speeches. Sometimes they work. Ronald Reagan at Brandenburg Gate, that was a symbolic speech. That actually happened. The Jerry Maguire speech only works if you land the agent, if you land the client. If you land the client, your adversary will gladly give you a symbolic speech if you fail to win the real ones. So we have to actually, as conservatives, libertarians, have to learn how to win from this. And I think the only way to win, what's next, is assuming that Obamacare is now a medical condition, which could be fatal. You have to make it a temporary condition. How is that? Do you allow the American public to be exposed to it like a vaccine? That way it actually creates an immunity against such a pernicious disease that is Obamacare.
Why are you so worried about it? I'm not going to sing We Shall Overcome again here on Obamacare. What is your fear of at least letting it be tried by people?
Well, actually, I don't have a fear because I know it's going to fail.
Here's one of the fears, and I think we're going to get to it in the next block, but the cost is outrageous.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It could bankrupt us.
Where do we go? Where
do the Democrats go from here? Where do the Republicans go from here? When you talk about Republicans, maybe you talk about both versions of Republicanism.
Well, here's why the defunding piece is different than I think what he did today. The defunding piece makes me nervous because I think it saves Obama from his really bad decision, and that is Obamacare. He owns it. As Greg said, let people try it. It's going to implode on its own. I get the point once these subsidies become permanent. It's tough to take people off, but the reality is Republicans can't stop this right now. They've got Reid, they've got Obama. So they need to let people get a taste of this and stop giving Obama a pass for this awful disaster that is going to get worse by the day. It's already getting bad with
It doesn't matter if it's the law of the land.
Here because some are saying, and maybe I agree with this, that it was a brilliant move by Ted Cruz. It gave him 21 hours of talking about how bad Obamacare is. And in the end, they're going to push it through anyway, and the Democrats are going to have to own the darn thing anyway. So you got 21 hours, the American people.